ladies and gentlemen, this was an LA probation violation in regards to Tupac Shakur, not a Las Vegas case. By September 1996, when Pac was shot in Las Vegas, this probation violation had already been handled in court. The timeline makes it clear that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is lying and twisting facts. If he claims Tupac was supposed to do community service the weekend that he was shot. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into these facts. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy Delray Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, click on the thumbs up button. Also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm gonna get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. and Gullible John over at Bums First are attempting to claim something about Tupac that is not true. One of those lies that, is kind of benign, but, it sounds like a person knows what they're talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is lying when he says that Tupac Shakur was in Vegas on the September 7th weekend, 1996, to do some community service. Ladies and gentlemen, it simply is not true. And so I'm going to get into it like this. What we do over here, Straight Game TV, like I said, I'm only going to give you the facts. I'm only going to give you what you truly, honestly deserve. So like I said, first and foremost, the lies continue. Like I said, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. knew nothing about Tupac's legal situation, point blank, period. Do not ever get it twisted and think that he did, right? Tupac Shakur supposedly having to do community service work the weekend he was shot in Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. That is false. I'm going to break it down with the facts straight out of Judge Khan's, Abraham Khan is his name, his courtroom, if you will, right? So like I said, once again, we're going to set the record straight. Look, here's the truth. In April of 1996 in Los Angeles, not Las Vegas, right? Tupac faced a probation violation in front of Judge Abraham M. Khan. The charge, not completing his Caltrans community service hours. The defense argued, Tupac's defense argued, Pac couldn't do it because he was a target and it was unsafe. The judge wasn't having it. Judge Khan said there was no reason Pac couldn't complete that work, safety or not. That was basically what Judge Khan said. And so the sentence that he gave Tupac, you have to understand and be clear about this. So what did the judge do, right? Understanding he said that, it was no excuse. So Judge Khan sentenced Tupac to 120 days in the county jail. Some people were out there talking about all of this other stuff. 120 days in the county jail. And like I said, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is falsely reporting this thing that Tupac had to do in Vegas. It's not true. He also fined Tupac $1,000 and ordered him to report to jail on June 7th, 1996 to begin serving that time, right? And so the actual record, and I remember this, if you will, and here's the key. Pac's probation violation had been handled months before Vegas. By September 7th, when Pac was shot, the issue was already behind him. Ladies and gentlemen, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is lying again, and he does not know what he's talking about. They're over there trying to come up with stories and speak on things that are simply not true, right? And so here's where I expose the lie. Now let's deal with Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. Okay, Reggie keeps spinning these, or should I say this tale like Tupac was supposed to be doing community service instead of being in Vegas for the Tyson fight that night, right? That's pure cap. He's capping, right? The case was out of the Los Angeles. It was out of Los Angeles, and it was a jail sentence, right? So if the case is dealing with Los Angeles jurisdiction, Tupac was sentenced to 120 days in jail. Like I said, it was not a Caltrans weekend gig, right? He was sentenced to jail. So by the time Pac hit Vegas, right, the whole probation violation situation had been settled. So what's Reggie doing? What is he doing when he gets on Bums First with Gullible John and they come and he reports a story as if he knows what he's talking about? He doesn't, right? Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. once again is trying to rewrite history, hoping you don't check the facts. But here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm giving you the facts. More importantly, hold on. Let's do it like this, because like I said, once again, a lot of people have a problem with these old pesky ass facts when it's time to deliver them, right? What the record show? The record shows April 1996, date and judge, April 4th, 1996, Los Angeles Superior Court. Judge Abraham Khan ruled that Shakur violated his probation tied to his 1994 LA case by failing to complete Caltrans community service work. Why it was a violation? The court rejected the defense's argument that Pac skipped the Caltrans assignment for safety reasons. Judge told him there was no reason he could not complete the work despite those concerns. That phrasing is from the Contemporary Report, ladies and gentlemen. The sentence actually imposed, like I said, once again, the court sentenced Shakur to 120 days in the county jail, fined him $1,000, and ordered him to begin serving his time on June 7th, 1996. Ladies and gentlemen, the same details ran in multiple newspapers at that time, ladies and gentlemen. I need you to understand that. When you understand what I'm saying, you're going to know that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. does not know what he's talking about. You understand what I'm saying? He does not know. And you need to know why this matters, ladies and gentlemen. Why does it matter, right? This is important, family, like I said once again, because lies like that twist the narrative around Tupac's life. They make it seem like Pac was reckless or skipping responsibilities, when in reality, the system had already dealt with him on that violation. So like I said, once again, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is lying. He does not know what he's talking about. This is simple, plain and simple, right? And remember, Tupac didn't survive long enough to finish that sentence. He was killed before the state could enforce it. But the record is clear. Judge Abraham Khan, right, ruled in April 1996, not September in Vegas, right? He ruled in April of 1996, not in September in Vegas. That's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. So the next time that you guys hear Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., right, talking slick, remember, the facts don't lie, but people do. And like I said over here, Straight Game, I'm going to do nothing but bring you the pure, cold, hard facts, right? It was reported that Pac was supposed to do about, I think and I remember vaguely because I was like, Pac in jail, I think he did like 29 days, if I'm not mistaken. He did 29 days of that sentence or something like that, some kind of time Tupac had to do from that perspective. Like I said, if I could be mistaken on that, because like I said, the record wasn't really clear. But like I said, once again, by the time Tupac was shot in Vegas, he had no community service to do, according to what Reggie the Wright Jr. just came out and said, right? So like I said, we're going to keep bringing you nothing but receipts over here at Straight Game TV, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said, please do not be fooled by this false information and one seeming to know it all. Like I said, I'm going to bring you nothing but the facts with documentation, the judge, the date, and when Tupac was to report to jail. And like I said, I believe Tupac did in and around 20-something days, if you will, right? So once again, like I said, yeah, it's crazy that this would happen. And like I said, more importantly, you know, don't listen to people who are not giving you information to back up what they're saying. Like I said, it's so sad. It's so sad, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, your boy Delray, Straight Gang.
They said Tupac was untouchable, but behind the walls of Rikers Island, he was just a man, wounded, watching his back, and wondering who he could trust. He survived bullets, betrayal, and isolation behind bars. But what happened inside those walls has never been told until now. In the darkest corner of Rikers, he found betrayal and a brotherhood no one saw coming. These dudes smiled in my face, then flipped and tried to kill me, and I never saw it coming. They were Puff's security, Biggie's muscle, Henchman's people, and Tupac knew exactly who sent them. This is the side of Tupac Shakur the world never got to see, told by the man who lived it with him, not in the studio, but in a 6x9 cell. The rap battles, sex and drama with female guards, the tears, the silence after Jada Pinkett's visit, and the moment Tupac almost broke. Before Death Row, before All Eyes on Me, before Machiavelli, there was Rikers. Behind the Walls with Tupac Shakur, available now on Amazon. Get your copy. Learn the truth.